Bucky's Basement. Bucky's Basement.
Welcome to another episode of Bucky's Basement. I'm Bucky, and as always in the basement with me today I have Old Boy.
Forever, ever.
And Juice Box.
Mommy!
And we are back for another episode of Casting Cage. Before we get into this week's episode, which is a special for us because, you know, you guys are used to us reviewing Nic Cage movies in chronological order.
True.
Sometimes we go out of order.
Often.
And sometimes we get a special treat. And that is when a brand new, hot off the presses Nic Cage movie is revealed to the world and us and the theater, and we get to go see it.
That's right. And we've been blessed to see 2024's
brand new movie. I was gonna say, you said we've been blessed. I was gonna say, man, last fall when I saw what was it?
Dream
Scenario. I wasn't too blessed. I mean, I got a lot of hype. I was excited about it.
We laughed. There's a few laughters in there.
Yeah,
sure.
I feel like I enjoyed that movie. I can't remember exactly what I rated it, but thinking back on it, I didn't maybe watch it again.
Yeah, didn't hate it.
You would watch it again?
Possibly.
So it's currently streaming on HBO, and I am one of the last people in the entire world that still have like regular cable with the HBO package. Sometimes I flip through those 10 HBO channels, and the other day, Dream Scenario was on about halfway through, and it was like when everybody was discovering, like, or encountering him and being like, I know you from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I made it through about 7 minutes of that, and I was like, nah, I can't do this again.
On.
Really?
You still have the 10 HBO channels?
I do. It's fun, man. It's like a game. Like anytime during the day, you can just flip it on and be like, all right, I got 10 shots at this. Or HBO, you have 10 shots at this.
No, it's like Hotel HBO.
It really is.
It's Hotel HBO.
I'm kind of understanding where you're coming from though, because it's just like the roulette of it. You know, it's like when you listening to the radio. It's like you don't even know what song you're going to get. You have a song, or you hear a song on the radio that you have on your phone, but it's like, man, I heard it on the radio. It's so much better for some reason.
That is
true.
true.
So much more excited about it.
So you have like Latin America HBO and like
there's
HBO
one Spanish
After Dark.
Channel. There's one children's channel. There's one like I feel like it's a family
After
type.
Hours.
There's not an
Risque
after hours.
HBO?
We don't pay that premium. I can't justify that.
That is right up your alley.
That is Cinemax, you guys.
That is
right?
right.
Oh
That's
yeah, no Cinemax. Wait a minute, shit, I do have Max because HBO and Max got together, so I guess I have to go to Max for that. But there's no channels yet. You can just stream that online.
Gotcha.
And I can do that from my basement. Speaking of basements, and this is a big deal for you guys. It's a big deal for us. We officially got kicked out of Bucky's Basement. The Bucky's Basement, we're calling it Bucky's Basement number one.
Number one.
Yeah.
That
Number
section of the basement.
That section of the basement, it was brand new. It was beautiful. It smelled good. The carpet was fresh.
It was nice.
The lighting was just incredible in that room.
It was bright.
But my wife and I originally built that part of the basement because we knew one of our children was eventually going to move down there. We've been doing Bucky's Basement for almost a year, and I was holding on to the fact that she would forget about it, or we could extend this one more year because that room was very comfortable.
It was nice.
It's brand new.
Yeah.
It's like
we had our posters up.
Yeah, it's like being in a hotel.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice.
So don't fret, because I also had another hidden room in my basement, and it does feel like a basement because
it's dingier.
We're dealing with a drop ceiling. We're dealing with flooring that I can't rip up because it was installed in like the 60s, and apparently there's something that's going to kill you underneath.
It's part of the foundation of the house.
There is a brick wall behind Juice Box. There is a door behind Old Boy, as well as like, what do you call that?
Quick escapes.
Tack board.
Pegboard.
Pegboard, yeah. But this feels to me, I don't know if it feels to you guys, this feels like we're finally in Bucky's basement.
So it does feel like a basement. I was telling old boy earlier when I first got over
like
here.
One too.
I was telling him that like I wouldn't want this to happen, but if I was getting murdered in this room, I'd be like, yeah, this is about right. This is a room I feel like I should be murdered in. I don't know what it is, like the cinder block looking walls, everything that you just described just makes this a murder room for me. So
Yep.
Dwayne Johnson in a hockey mask busts through the door.
that adds to it also. Smoking Ben Affleck, the whole everything.
My death bingo card.
Yeah, this is the room I'm gonna die in.
See, it reminds me of a kind of, I guess, a church storage room in the basement. It's weird. There's so many different walls here. Like
You're
behind
right.
me, I have a brick fireplace. Behind Old Boy is a door, brick,
Wood
pegboard.
paneling behind it. There's
yeah.
wood paneling behind
And then
that.
behind that is wood paneling. Like that has a whole corner of the room.
There's layers, so many layers to this room.
There are 3 doors in this room.
I'm comfortable. This is fine. As long as we don't have to move to like that room. Though.
Yeah.
If we move
The-
into
the
that
crawl
room-
space?
Yeah,
The
the
dirt
crawl
floor room.
Yeah, the dirt floor basement.
We'll call it Bucky's Crawl Space. And that'll be the brand new podcast when this one fizzles out. If you guys are listening to us right now on whatever podcast network or
Because I
streaming,
could be killed in there.
whatever streaming site you're listening to us on, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Podbean, anywhere, just know that you can watch us on YouTube. And as you might remember, when we first started streaming on YouTube in the original Bucky's Basement, we were basically, it was 4 blank walls. Almost a year later, I mean, it like every part of the wall was covered with something, including Cindy Crawford,
Cindy.
Smoking Ben Affleck.
Ben.
We've got Dolly Parton references. We had, the originator of Bucky's Basement. I want to give a shout out. Speaking of that, you can watch us on YouTube right now and see what the brand new Bucky's Basement, brand new old Bucky's Basement
Right.
looks like.
We're going to make it tight. We promise.
This is our home for the foreseeable future. And if you are looking at us right now, over my, right shoulder is a mural of a guy named James Early. And James Early actually built this house. So he is the builder of Bucky's Basement. I will always have his likeness somewhere near me.
I'm with that.
And it's weird because I like to watch horror movies, right? And I would get spooked
You say
out.
so.
I say so. I like to get spooked out by horror movies. And I remember, like, sometimes horror movies do this thing to me where I just get freaked out. And I used to have this poster hanging
You don't say.
hanging in my basement of James Early because it was the only thing left in this house when we bought
when
the
you moved
house,
in?
right?
Okay.
It was the only thing was this big foam board thing from his retirement or something. So I hung it up in my basement,
Right.
and my wife hated it. But I always looked to him like, you are the protector of this house.
Yeah.
now. Like, you built it, and you're going to protect me from any
Guardian
supernatural force.
Jimmy Early is the guardian angel of Bucky's Basement.
He is.
Awesome. Is it true that Jimmy Early came up with the quote, "If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late"?
Don't know. I don't think he was called Jimmy either.
Jim?
But that's on here.
Just Jim.
Yeah. And today we're talking, again, we're back in the Cage with Casting Cage episode. And speaking of horror, we have one on the books for you right now in theaters.
Don't we ever?
You can go see the brand new Nicolas Cage film dubbed as horror. It's called Longlegs.
Longlegs.
And we went to see it, not together.
Juicebox and I saw it together, but
I couldn't wait.
I know
I
you
couldn't,
couldn't wait.
and I was so against this in the beginning because of Dream Scenario. When old boy told me there was a new Nic Cage movie coming out, I was like, I don't fucking care. Like, I'm excited. I'm still excited about 1993 Nic Cage that I haven't seen before.
Sure.
And I was like, I don't care, whatever. Dream Scenario really turned me off. And then he was like, oh, it's this horror movie. And I was like, I don't care. Like,
I know.
I wasn't the biggest fan of Mandy.
Lackluster.
I'm not going to lie. I know.
Wow.
I know. We can get into that, but wasn't the biggest fan. I think it had to do with the lack of, what is it?
Dialogue.
in
I
the
mean,
movie.
yeah, it was very visual.
So how were you on Willy's Wonderland?
Yeah,
More familiar, more realistic. I
there
think.
was zero dialogue in that fucking
More
movie.
realistic. Willy's Wonderland.
Oh,
We'll get there eventually on
More
this
realistic.
podcast.
Yep.
There's a lot of fun things, but then old boy tells me, it's a horror movie. I watched the preview. I'm still not excited. I really am not, because you don't see Longlegs, or you don't see this Cage of this character of Nic Cage in the previews.
Yeah, which I think is genius.
Genius.
It's very genius
They
in
don't,
retrospect, now that I look back on it.
which is brilliant. Because in today's day and time, you don't like all movie trailers they give away the whole movie in the trailer. You wanted me to watch something recently, and I was like, oh, I watched the trailer. I don't have to see it now.
Yeah.
It was a Spielberg movie or
Because
something.
you're obviously not into acting. I'm convinced. Like, you are not into acting at all.
No.
You are in it for the plot and what's going to confuse you the most, and what, like, yeah.
I want to no. I would like something fresh and new. And you sent me that thing. It wasn't. Was it Spielberg? What was it? No, it was
I can't remember. I have no idea what you're talking about. I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a Tom Hanks movie.
Oh yeah, then now
Here.
yeah.
That trailer gives the whole movie away.
But it doesn't give away the dialogue. It doesn't give away what happened to each of these characters through time. It
Doesn't matter. It shows it shows the beginning and it showed the end, and it was like, we were here. And it was like, coming to theaters. I was like, well, okay.
Do you think some people just need that though? Like, are there some people out there that need that to see that in the trailer before they're going to see a movie? Like, they can't see something cryptic, or else they'll just be like, I don't know what this is. I don't understand it.
Yeah,
True.
They're gonna be too weirded out.
So it's like these movies that, especially for the general masses, maybe that's why they're spoiling them basically out the bat.
yeah, maybe they need it comfort food.
You already know what you're
spoon-fed.
walking into.
Yeah.
Basically,
It depends on the artist.
all you have to do is listen to the words.
It depends on the what? Shut up! You're saying me?
Yeah, it's you.
So
It's you.
it depends on your audience, right? Like, are you appealing to this audience? What's your demographic? What do people want to see? Get right to the point. I want to know what I'm walking into.
That's what we're
or
saying.
This Longlegs preview where I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You don't see Nic Cage, which a little bit intrigued me, but I still didn't want to go see this movie.
Right.
It took reviews and that pop right off the bat for me to want to really go see this movie.
It's getting great reviews.
There's some not so good reviews. A lot
There
of
are
actually,
there's some bad reviews too. You're right.
It currently has a 7.3 on IMDb and an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Still
I think it's
pretty good.
come down since it was released this weekend.
Probably, yeah. I think you're right.
It started out a lot higher than that from what I remember, because I saw those scores and I was like, all right, that just reiterates the fact that I want to go see this.
Yeah.
Like, people are buzzing about it. I always get into the director of this film, which is going to take up a little time on this podcast. It's Oz Perkins, otherwise known, or original name Osgood. He has directed some kind of sea horror movies in the past. It's called Gretel and Hansel, which is creative.
Right. I watched part of that.
He directed one episode of the new Twilight Zone. Black Coat's Daughter,
I was just talking to Juicebox about that. It's gotten good reviews, and somebody thinks it's a prequel to Longlegs, so I may check that out later.
Oh. And then
But who is that thinks that?
Reddit.
Just wanted to verify.
And he's an actor in the movie Nope. Well, let's get into the interesting thing about Oz Perkins, which is the director of Longlegs. It doesn't sound like he's done very much at this point. But he is, do we say,
Anthony
Nepo baby?
We were discussing that earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, he does come from acting parents.
Yeah.
Actor parents.
And a genre that he can understand. His dad was the famed Anthony Perkins from the movie Psycho.
Right. And Psycho 2. Did y'all ever see Psycho 2?
And Psycho 2 that Oz Perkins had a part writing.
No shit.
Yeah, I don't think that he was a writer on Psycho 2.
There's no way.
Maybe he was like a background actor.
He was in the movie as young Norman Bates.
Okay, he played
No
his... Okay.
kidding.
Yeah, because he looks
played
just
his
like
dad.
him. Like, if you look up, I mean, he looks very similar to Anthony Perkins.
I was reading an interview with him talking about his relationship with his parents and some of the influence on the movie. So I'll circle back around to that at the end.
Some of the things that he does in this movie are unreal to me. Mm-hmm. Something I haven't seen before. Something that like evoked emotion.
Okay.
Like coming from that 4:3 aspect ratio to the widescreen and how slow it moved, and you almost didn't notice it.
Yeah.
Cool fact.
Or the way he used that flashback and that square in the middle of the screen. It's just I've never seen that before.
There's some cool things. No doubt.
Let's get into the actors. Obviously, we have the one and only Nic Cage. While we do this entire podcast, he plays Longlegs in this movie. We will get into what and who Longlegs is a little bit later. We have Micah Monroe. Is that how you pronounce her name? It's got to be like Maika, Micah.
Or Micah.
Yeah,
Micah Monroe. She plays Lee Harker in this film, she's an FBI agent. Mm-hmm. I said, it's like she's quiet, timid, and introvert. Blair Underwood in this movie, he plays Carter, Lee Harker's boss. And I said, I made a note to myself that said, look on phone for movies he's been in, which are about 1,000.
Yeah. Really?
Oh, God. Like,
dude, we need some more Blair Underwood. I was like, why is he not in more movies? He did great, I thought.
You're right. He's
awesome.
I
loved him in this movie, too. And I did the exact same thing. I went back and looked him up, and it's like, oh, he's been on like a shit ton of TV show episodes, and he's been in like a bunch of movies, but they're all just like, kind of under the radar. Or you're like,
it,
yeah.
Or like, okay, I'll roll some off. Gattaca, Murder in Mississippi.
I love Gattaca.
City of Angels. I don't know, like
Is that a
Mama
Nic Cage
Flora's
movie?
Family. No, there's some like feel good stuff in here. Dirty Sexy Money, which is I guess a show that was on for 2 years.
He was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
The Cosby Show.
He's been around on a lot of stuff.
So before we get into the plot and get into everything, what we'd like to do on Bucky's Basement when we do these Casting Cage episodes is a segment we like to call
Plot by Juicebox.
FBI agent Lee Harker is a gifted new recruit assigned to the unsolved case of an elusive serial killer. As the case takes complex turns, unearthing evidence of the occult, Harker discovers a personal connection to the merciless killer and must race against time to stop him before he claims the lives of another innocent family. So that was from IMDb, and that straight up like spoiled a lot of shit.
No kidding.
All right, so Juicebox read the plot, and now we're going to throw it back to him to read what he thinks the plot should read.
Mine's a little different.
What we count on.
Well, Uncle Dale done went and started worshiping the devil, making dolls in his basement, calling himself Longlegs. This probably ain't going to end good.
That's actually good.
I like it. Uncle Dale.
Is that the girl in the psych ward? Is that where you channeled that voice?
I kind of did channel like from that. I didn't get her mannerisms down, but yeah, it was
Sure-de do or whatever.
God, it was so hard to follow her. All right, Longlegs. I remember sitting down to this film, and it opens with a square box in the middle of the screen.
Right.
I didn't understand what kind of cinematography this was
Well,
I had never seen it
automatically
before.
put you in the 1970s. It sat you. You knew exactly what time period you're in. The car, the way the interior of the car looked, the frame, just everything screamed setting 1970s.
Snow on the ground.
even like the titles on the red square. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even like just the basicness of that on the 4-3 square. Like you knew it instantly, like you said, that you were not in modern times.
Yeah.
You know, it opens and you see a young girl walk outside of her house, and she sees a car parked on the street. And you're automatically getting that feeling of like, all right, this is kind of creepy because I used to abduct kids back then and shit like that. Like, why are you by yourself approaching this car?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like anybody should be around. You know, there's snow all over the ground. Nobody should be out driving.
Right.
And then as soon as she starts walking towards the car, we hear this voice. And then she turns around, and you see like the torso and kind of the top of the legs of somebody
you see him
standing
before
there.
That.
Do you?
He's in the background. He's in the background when she's walking, and she looks like back towards the house. Like she's looking at the car and then she looks towards the backyard. He's in the background there.
Oh, I missed that.
I saw it on something else. Yeah. So
Wow.
I didn't catch it either, but yeah.
I mean, all of this happens pretty quick
Very
before the
quick.
movie starts, right?
Yeah.
And like she turns around and you just hear this creepy ass voice say,
There she is, the almost birthday girl. Oh, but it seems I wore my long legs today. What happens if
I
And
mean,
it was like cuts to red right there.
and that red and that sound reminds me of The Shining so much. Like,
It's fair, yeah.
But dude,
And
you
it-
see the torso and kind of the bottom of the chin, and then he comes down into the frame real quick at the end.
Right,
And you're like,
yeah.
okay, I'm still wanting to see this motherfucker because like that was way too quick. What if if you blinked, you missed it?
I fully did not expect to see Nic Cage so early in the film, and I was like, I immediately creeped out. I was
Yeah.
I like fist pumped. Like when
Oh,
that
did
shit
you?
came on, I was like, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Like this.
go with Longlegs.
No, just the movie. I'm excited about it
Come
now.
on, kid, let's go. Go with
No.
it.
See, I was the same way. I was pretty pumped. I wrote like, "Fuck yes, this is an awesome intro." But then I also wrote, my initial thought was like, this kind of looks like Zombie Miss Doubtfire or something. Like this is like
is true.
his facial.
That is true.
Like the way this character looks was
It's
it was a decision. We can talk
was
about maybe
certainly
about who it was, but
it's hard to stomach.
it is, dude. It doesn't make.
But that
sense.
makes it
It's like-
even creepier, like Buffalo Bill or Tiny Tim or things like that. Like we've seen it in the past, and,
Yeah.
But this is like over the top, like old lesbian with a lot of powder.
Yeah,
and
I don't even know, man. It was like a combination of like The Mask, like that movie, and like
not the Jim Carrey
no,
movie,
not the
like
Jim Carrey
the
movie,
one with Cher.
Yeah,
With
God,
Eric Stoltz.
yeah,
think
with Eric Stoltz.
So I wrote that shit down too. I didn't think anybody would get it, but it's perfect mask if you've ever seen
Dude,
that movie.
it's very similar, man.
It's like elephantitis of the face.
It
Yeah.
does have some weird angles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like that was, I don't know. It's just very it feels very unhuman. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like
for
it's
sure.
very uncanny valley. Like this is just not natural looking, and throws you off initially. or
Which should
immediately.
play
off
into
top.
the rest of the movie, right?
does, yeah.
should play into it, but it's when it comes down to it at the end, it's not really relevant, in my opinion, other
mean,
than
it's
just being a creepy, ugly guy.
I don't know. We can talk about it a little bit more in a minute, but I am firmly believing that was a Nic Cage choice. I think that he was like, I'll play this character, but I want him to
But
look like
I wanna look like
fucking
Eric
great,
Stoltz.
like yeah, or like the grandma from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey when they're like having the
Ooh,
or
yeah.
the
In
when they're in
hell?
hell, yeah.
That one fucking
Oh,
stuck
yeah.
with me for a long time.
Yeah,
Like
dude.
just something creepy like that, like just very unnatural.
Yeah.
Um,
Which I mean is made to make you uneasy.
Yeah,
So yeah.
So opening scene's incredible, and then we start learning that this movie is going to be placed in parts because prior to the next scene, we get part one and the words "his letters,"
Right.
and you don't know what that's going to be at this point. So
Right.
what we're going to see is kind of like a 1990s open up. So we're about 20 years later.
And the only way they established the 90s is Bill Clinton.
Oh,
Dude,
in the background.
prominently in the background.
Right. Yeah.
So he was elected in 92. So I'm assuming this probably was like 94ish.
So I think it's 95 because they say that Longlegs has been murdering for 30 years,
That's
and the
right.
first murder was in 1965.
Okay.
That's right.
Good pickup. So the movie opens. Agent Lee Harker and her partner are in this neighborhood. She gets like a premonition or some kind of like hunch that
Damn.
this serial killer is in this house when they were knocking across the street. They go approach the front, or the partner approaches the front, and then we see kind of the first whole shit. Actually, the second oh shit part of this movie.
absolutely.
First was seeing Longlegs. The second was the partner knocks on the door, just a random knock,
Because she chose it. Because
'Cause she chose it.
She had a psychic. Juicebox was
Yeah.
right. There's a noise.
So yeah, I wish I had the sample, but there's a noise that they play like when she's like looking down the street and looking around, and it's just this very eerie like, And it's a sound that you've definitely heard in movies before with like somebody's having like a psychic premonition. It's like the psychic noise. Like as soon as you hear the story, it's like, okay.
I'm pretty sure it's in Scanners. It's like
right before the dude's head blows up.
All right, so they're at the house, and her partner opens the door, and then like immediately just shot through the head, but you don't see who shot the person. You just see a side angle of somebody getting just shot in the head, dead. She draws her weapon, and we still are getting out this Tibbiness, this like, what'd you call it? Like antisocial, like doesn't want to do this really.
But she goes right into the house.
Yeah, she's like not scared of shit in this whole movie.
Doesn't call for backup.
Yeah,
goes right in the house.
Dude.
That's kind of a character flaw in my opinion, because it doesn't really make sense unless she enjoyed the training of that aspect of the job.
I don't know. She looks
more than
scared
the
as shit.
interrogations and like interviews with their boss or meetings.
She looked scared, but she didn't call for backup, ran right up in the fucking house.
Yeah.
So
walls covered with plastic and everything, like
something's
not a red
up.
flag at all.
Yeah,
Just, I don't know.
and honestly, I was confused at first too, because I was like, oh, maybe this is Longlegs too, and it wasn't. It was just some guy sitting on a bed, and she's like, put your hands up and come quietly. He's like, I will.
Okay, so this had nothing to do with Longlegs, right? This was not some kind of like side plot that he was like kind of helping like orchestrate or something like that, because I mean, it seems like her getting on the Longlegs case seems somewhat like intentional as the movie goes on. You know what I'm saying? Like it seemed like that was a part of a bigger plan that needed to unfold.
It does feel that way.
See, I think everything's on the surface in this movie from start to finish, and I did make
thinking about it too much.
Mental note of that. I think you are. I think what this scene does is just. This scene solidifies her to be on the Longlegs case, because they said they've been doing the Longlegs case for a long time. They needed like a new perspective or fresh set of eyes. And when they found out she had some kind of they thought she had some psychic ability because she picked out this house and busted this serial killer that they've been looking for forever. Now she's basically a shoo-in,
for the big case.
For the big
leagues.
case.
She got called up to the big leagues.
They also made her go through that whole battery of like psychic tests or whatever too.
Oh
like,
yeah, they said she nailed it, but then they're like she failed half of them, but she nailed half of them.
Yeah, she guessed like 8 out of 16 numbers out of like 0 out of 100 or something, whatever.
Which is pretty hard to do.
Yeah, of course.
After that original scene, then we're going to meet her boss, Agent Carter, or I guess the new boss, or maybe the existing boss, but now wants her on this new case. He's impressed by her perception and figures, she might have some kind of psychic ability, as we've said. He assigns her to a decade-long murder case involving multiple families who were murdered by the fathers before they took their own lives.
Right.
Found at the scene of each crime were letters with satanic symbols and coding, all signed Longlegs.
Correct.
So they put her on this case to basically, like I said, that opening scene, or the scene that solidified her to be on this case, was on the surface. I think every clue solving that goes on in this movie is also very on the surface and simplified. And it's like...
Right, well, as we learned, she's kind of got some influence, right? So it's probably easier for her to solve satanic things.
Yeah,
but they don't realize that at this point.
They don't realize it, but they're like, yeah.
I just feel like it was, okay, the first thing that she tells them, or I can't remember if the FBI knew this or not, but like all the girls in these scenarios of murder, family murder, had the same birthday. And
that's what Blair Underwood told her. She's like, well, is there any similarities? And he's like, birthdays. It's the birthdays. So he tells Lee Harker to look at the notes, look at the evidence, and she does, and she kind of like sleeps on him literally
in some weird open room in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
Then she falls asleep and wakes up to him saying, "Hey, you want to come to my house?
No, let's get a drink.
Or let's get a drink. And then you're going to come to my house,
Which
Harker."
leads me to believe that she just fell asleep during the day at work.
Right. Yeah.
Like she was just in this room by herself
just
working.
taking
It
a
was
nap.
like, man, I'll just take a fucking nap.
No pillow, just on the floor.
So they go have a drink at a bar, and then her boss, Agent Carter, invites her back to his house, where we first meet his wife, Anna, and his daughter, Ruby. And there's a weird, like, little thing where she's
Interaction.
just like this is where the weird Micah Monroe comes out, or the Agent Harker. It's like she's standing at the front door and not speaking until spoken to.
Right.
Yeah.
She's got some social awkwardness.
For sure.
And it's I don't know, I think it's a cool scene, but it's like, all right, so the dad's coming home late. It's bringing the excuse to his house.
That's what it seems like. He's using her as like a deflection because he's coming home drunk after work late or whatever.
Yeah, it was weird.
Then the daughter invites her into her room, and they're just okay. Everybody's just okay with that. Like,
I mean,
her
she
daughter's
is
like,
an
"Hey, you want to
FBI
come?"
agent. She's
That's
had
true.
a background check.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But it's like, you want to come see my room? Sure. While mom and dad go in the other room and argue why dad came home late drunk with his partner.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So,
But, yeah.
and then we get the Ruby invite to her upcoming birthday, which
Right.
plays in the later in the film. But she says yes, awkwardly. But before that, we get a little glimpse of, the daughter asked, "Did you always want to be an FBI agent?" And she said, "No, I wanted to be an actress."
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that would come up later in the film, but it kind of doesn't.
It didn't. It didn't at all. It didn't feel like.
When you look back at it on now, that was just kind of a thrown in there thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
Now I'm thinking more on that.
Yeah, I don't know. Because later, when they talk about her becoming an agent, they say we laughed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's curious.
All right, so because Agent Harker did fall asleep, as Juicebox said, in the middle of the day on her job, she's able to stay up late. So after this scenario at the house, she goes
Right.
home to her little cabin in the woods.
So one little thing I just want to bring up that I thought it's totally random and doesn't make a difference, but like when she's driving back to her house, they show her smoking a cigarette, and it's like
Right.
the only time anybody's smoking in the whole movie. But it's almost like in a Nic Cage movie, somebody has to smoke a fucking cigarette. Like that's part of his contract.
That
or
is a good
something.
point. I did notice that.
And it's the only time you see her smoking, and it's just
Yeah.
like I don't even know what was the point of showing her smoking a cigarette. It's just
Maybe meeting people is stressful to her.
She goes home, or I can't remember. Was it on the way home, or when she first got home? She calls her mom. This is the first time we encounter her mom.
Yeah.
which this is another like layer of creepiness put on this, and like her relationship with her mom, or like the conversation, like are you saying your prayers? Are you like doing this? And like there's so many awkward pauses on these phone calls.
You're right.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel right at home.
See, for me, I took a note on my phone like immediately. I was like, something is up with the mom.
Yeah.
Either she's like, maybe she's not real or something, or
yeah.
like there's something. The mom is gonna come into play in a big way.
That's what
And then after the fact, I came back to that note and wrote, "This is an understatement."
Yeah. You're right. I kept thinking like we'd learn later that the mom was dead, and she'd been talking to her mom the whole time, but that was not it.
While she's talking to her mom, there's a loud pound at the door. This is a classic in horror films.
Yeah.
You're in the woods. There's a loud knock at the door. You approach the door.
Everybody that lives in the woods has a giant wooden door that you can pound on that way to make it sound like you're pounding on a counter or something.
We should just go to we should go to that, what is it, that Ernest Day out at Montgomery Bell State Park campground, and just when they're camping at night, just go knock on all the cabin doors real loud.
Oh, I'm afraid I'd get shot.
Yeah, that's
I guess you probably would in the real world. Anyway, there's a loud knock at the door. She opens the door. Nobody's there. And then, we see a figure in the woods standing
Back window,
there.
Yeah, back window. There's somebody out in the woods.
And so
this is classic horror movie shit, right? Like you see somebody out in the woods, what's the first thing you do? Run out into the woods
without
Like,
closing
yeah.
your door.
Yep.
just-
Yeah, no kidding.
So she gets out to the woods, and what happens? You turn around,
Somebody's in the
and
house.
somebody's in the house. It's like, and it's not the strangers type somebody's in the house. Like there's three of them. There's one dude. So we assume this is Longlegs. You can't see anything. But so she returns to the house in the same form that she went into that first serial killer's house. Guns out, doesn't give a fuck. Like going through her
Checking
house,
rooms,
clearing rooms. And then finally she sees this letter left on her desk. And it says, what? Open on January 14th?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or
Almost.
don't open until January 14th.
right.
and of course she's an FBI agent. So then, like literally, the scene closes right there, and what is it? Reopens right there, and it's called Part 2. All of your things.
No, the scene doesn't close there. She opens the letter, right, and then like has like. And I wanted to ask you guys about
birthday.
this.
It's her. It says 9.
It's a 9th birthday card,
Right.
And it has like a cipher. I feel like it has the cipher to like solve the thing. I could be
Right.
wrong about that, but
The code. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it either has it or she uses that to figure out the code of like how to
The rest of them.
Yeah.
So he's giving her the key to figure this out.
Yeah, because I don't know why. I mean, you're saying it's on the surface, but I feel like there's like others, like everything
She's
is
being
so
led along.
intentional. Yeah,
She's
seems
being
like.
led along.
Okay. For what?
All right. So when we get to the end, I think I've got it. I mean, I've read some
I'd like to
things
hear your
too.
theory.
I've read some things too that kind of point to it.
All right, so like you said, she opens the envelope. It's a birthday card. There was also a passage from the Book of Revelation in there, right? It was,
Right.
I stood upon the sand of the sea. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Anyway, Carter brings Lee in to investigate another Longlegs murder. The father was once again the culprit, and Lee and Carter both come upon the decomposing body of one of the daughters. That's one of the fucking like
7. It felt like 7.
very 7-ish.
Yeah,
that
dude,
sloth.
that was
Yeah.
brutal.
Because they were like they could have been gone a month because this family was supposed to be on vacation. And
Yeah, I think that's what they said, right? They had been there for a month or something like that.
so nobody checked on them.
Right.
I don't know how rich you are to go on vacation for a month, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I
How is
think I
that?
know some people that are almost there.
Okay.
How is that cat still alive in that cage?
That is true. That was a weird one.
Yeah, I didn't really get that either.
When they were trying to put together things about how Longlegs got in the house, or like how they, because there's no evidence that anybody broke in or like escaped or got out or anything, and I was started to think maybe it's the animals, like when they showed that cat, but again I was wrong.
That was a bit of a misdirection, maybe
Yeah.
unintentional.
Yeah, smart.
So they go back to the station. Obviously, Harker's still trying to solve all these murders or figure out what each one of them has in common. And then when they get back, she said the murders coincided within 6 days of the birthdays of the family's daughters, all of the dates being the 14th of any given month. The dates of each murder all form a triangle in a linear calendar, and one date is missing from the equation, blah, blah, blah. It's believed to be the next thing that they're going to target.
Right.
So, but she never mentions that she received the letter.
Correct. Yeah, she never brings it up and admits it to evidence, which she should have. I mean, again, she should have called. She shouldn't even have gone outside. She should have called the police then. But
She does a lot of questionable stuff as
right,
an FBI agent.
no doubt.
I'm not like an FBI agent, I don't know, but I feel like just as a lay person, I feel like she's doing a lot of questionable stuff.
That is true. It's the note said don't open until January 14th, and she opened it immediately.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna not falter on that.
No, I get that, but she should have, I guess, told him, "Hey, I got a letter from Longlegs. We're on this
and it
Longlegs
helped me
case."
solve the cipher that
Right.
guys haven't solved for 30 years.
But no, she takes credit for it then,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because the upside down triangle and like the figuring out all the stuff.
Right.
That is weird. Is she trying to boost her like?
I mean, she does figure out a lot of that stuff, but I feel like, I don't know.
She doesn't want him to
You
know
would
where it
think-
came from.
You would
Yeah.
think if a 30-year-old cold case serial killer had been in your house, you'd bring it up.
Yeah.
It
I'd
left
bring
you
it.
a letter.
I'd
say,
call
"Hey,
the
guys."
cops.
Yeah, I'd be calling everybody.
Even if I was an FBI agent,
Yeah.
I would be like, all right, local
Get that
police,
ass over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. Where are we? Because they need to get to the barn. Something leads them to a barn.
No,
And-
before the barn, this is where we experience Longlegs, right? Doesn't it cut to Longlegs in the town? Like he's in that
Yeah.
He's in that store, and we see him.
You see him go to that store,
But
and
we're
he's
not.
like,
I'm not satisfied with this, right? He goes in the store and he's creepy. He's kind of shopping. It's like
Right.
one of those old school like pharmacy / convenience stores or whatever.
Right.
And the daughter's behind the counter. You can assume maybe this is like the summer or something, and she's
Yeah.
working. And she's like, "Dad, it's that old creepy guy again." And he walks up and puts his hands over his face like this, and
he's creepy.
and he's very creepy. His voice comes out. You don't see his face. I think
you see his
you
face.
see his face
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah.
But I'm like not satisfied at this is like I thought this guy should be murdering people just behind the scenes and instead of shopping on
Well, he
a
doesn't
Saturday.
murder anybody.
Yeah.
I know, but like
and-
that's what he should be at this point. You don't know this.
Right, but cool fact, like she's did you know that girl behind the counter is the director's daughter?
I did not know that. So
And,
she's Anthony Perkins' granddaughter.
Yeah, and she
Nepotism at its finest.
That's right. And so when she first met Nic Cage in full costume, like she was unfazed, and she was like, "No big deal," and he loved it. He was like, "Oh, we're gonna put this in the movie." So
That's
I think
funny.
that's where that scene came from. But
All of those connections led them to the camera family, right?
right, camera family
The
farm.
camera family
Hold on,
farm.
real quick though, since we're talking about that scene in the
Directly.
drugstore, like directly after it, like after the girl like shuts him down, we have this scene in the car that is like pure Nic Cage. I feel like
It is. I was wondering if this was what he brought. Like,
Hey, if you strip
Unhinged.
away that makeup and that white powder and that hair and what he's wearing and everything, and you close your eyes, that could be like 1989 Nic Cage.
oh, I thought you were gonna say the mom from Wild at Heart.
I mean, there you go.
That
No,
was his inspiration.
we got to get through this. So let's move through this real quick. Lee and Carter look into the camera family. His daughter Carrie Ann was a sole survivor of their encounter with Longlegs. So they're going to go visit Carrie Ann. At least Harker's going to go visit Carrie
So
Ann.
hold on, they go to the farm
Oh
first.
shit, they do. They go to the farm first
and
in
they
the barn.
go in the barn and they find a doll that looks what they realize
yeah.
looks just like Carrie Ann.
Right.
And it's like in this coffin, and they take it to the or it's not in a coffin. I guess it's in a box or something.
Right. But it's
And this was more
it's
of
hidden.
Harker's psychic abilities.
Correct.
I think
she
so, yeah.
led them to where this
100%.
was.
She was like upstairs, and then they go upstairs and like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
which I
her.
guess makes sense in the end. So they take that doll back to the evidence room and they like dissect it basically, and they
Right.
find that steel ball inside of its head.
Right.
Which becomes a pretty major like part of the story. I feel like.
It does.
So I don't want to gloss over that.
Yeah, and we shouldn't. The coroner calls it the brain.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's and Blair Underwood's like, well, can we cut it in half? Like, what's in it? And he's like, there's nothing in it. But it's still like a mysterious piece of it's an artifact of something.
Yeah, because he touches like a piece of metal to it, or he touches something to it, and it starts like just making this like crazy sound.
Noise.
Like,
And sends Lee into like a flashback.
yeah.
So yeah, it's something. It's got magic.
Yeah. So anyway, after that is when they go to visit Carrie Ann Camera at the psych ward or whatever, because she has been catatonic for however many years since the incident, and they find out that she has a visitor the day before,
And now she's up and talking like,
yeah,
she's out of her catatonic state. And Carrie Ann, who had been catatonic, now spills the beans on like what happened to her. So you get that whole flashback scene.
yeah, she does spill the beans in a cryptic type of
Right.
way of talking about it. Like, luckily they're showing you what happened with that family.
From there, she hints that Lee has a tie to this whole thing, to Longlegs also, and Blair Underwood encourages Lee to go home and talk to her mother. He finds some evidence that something happened in Lee's past. So Lee goes home to talk to her mother and uncovers some stuff. Her mother gives her a box and's like, "Hey, here's your stuff," because that's chapter 2, right? All your things.
All your things, yeah.
Yep.
Her mother says she never threw anything away, so she goes up to her room and finds a box of like old Polaroid pictures.
Right, and takes it home and is like going through it, and she finds those old Polaroids, and which is to me the best scene in the whole thing. Like
The jump scare?
yeah, like I like a good cheap jump scare, but it was also like fucking psychedelic weird.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, it was really weird. It
Yeah.
like cyber glitchy type and yeah, it had like
Yeah.
several levels to that jump scare. It was weird.
Yeah, I was digging it, man. But then, so she comes back to Blair Underwood then with like, here's a picture of Longlegs. Like, Blair Underwood's got to be at this point like, what the fuck,
Dude,
man?
no shit. He's been working this case forever, like no leads, nothing at all, and all of a sudden this chick jumps on it and finding everything, and like I don't
has
know.
a picture of him. Like, he's
Yeah,
like, why don't you
that's
go home and
at
talk
her
to your mom?
house.
Comes back, boom, got a picture. It's like, oh, okay, motherfucker.
And it wasn't like busting like Buffalo Bill and Silence of the Lambs, right? It was just like, all right, we're just going to go pick this dude up.
They put
like,
an APB out, and homeboy is waiting like at a bus stop. Not even at a bus stop. He's just in the middle of the road.
I was so confused about that. Like I didn't really understand how that went down, of where they knew like where he was going to be, and he's just standing there in the middle of nowhere, and they come and arrest him.
Yeah, and it's a good scene too because it's weird. It's just real weird.
And then we encounter, well, not necessarily a one-on-one yet, but a video version of Longlegs.
A confession.
So they bring her into the room and his confession, and
Also excellent.
which is awesome because he talks about a couple of things, how he serves the man downstairs, but then he starts singing "Happy Birthday," and you know it's directed at Lee Harker because he like says her name
Right.
on the thing.
Yep.
And then one of the FBI agents, this is one of my favorite parts. She pauses, and Lee Harker, like they're all looking at her, and she was like, how long did that last or something like that? And she was like, that went on for like 18 more minutes.
24 more
Or
minutes.
24
Yeah.
more minutes. I was like, what?
So
That got
so
a laugh
good.
in our theater.
Us,
Did it?
Yeah.
By the way, our theater was pretty packed,
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
really surprised, honestly.
and it was good to see a movie with like a bunch of people. Like it's
Yeah.
been a while.
Then it got hype over the weekend because when I went to see it on Sunday at 9:50 p.m., I was one of 3 people, and it was in the main theater.
But you were like at the 10 o'clock movie.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I do wish we
On
would
a
have seen
Sunday
it in the
night.
main theater. We saw it in a smaller theater, but
Small
it's
theater.
still, I mean, having that many people in there felt awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway, this whole situation video, I guess she feels the need to go talk to this guy one-on-one. So she is one-on-one with this guy who's a serial killer who has been in her house, who has left her notes, who has haunted her childhood that she doesn't remember, but
Right.
she's about to, who has done something to her mom. It's, changed it because we don't see that yet.
Right.
Because she does this interview and then she goes back to her mom's house.
And you get a great monologue out of Nic Cage too.
In that interview, yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we have that clip, or we have part of that clip at least.
Let's
Right.
hear some of it.
The seventh sheep to be given the same choice that they've all been given, crimson or clover. Accept the gift and destroy it, and destroy yourself and yourselves, or keep it and bow down. Bow all the way down. And get right down to the dirty, dirty work. Work that gets dirty as it cleans. Like a mop. Like a rat.
So, I feel like that scene is like the perfect, perfect description of Nic Cage almost, because he like starts it off like in that weird character,
Right.
and then it goes like dark,
Right.
It goes sinister, and you're like, oh shit, this character is really fucking
Right.
like dark, and
Right.
this is like some real, it's not this weird talking like person the whole time. There's some
Right.
weird shit going on. And then he starts talking about a mop, and he's like, ends it with going,
Bring-
like a ring. And
brings
it's
you-
just like, you were going so out there, like so dark and so good with this character that you just took it back to Nic Cage. It
Back
was
to
like,
whimsical Nic Cage. It is, but
that's just Nic Cage. That's
it's
what you
Nic
get with
Cage.
him.
Yeah, that's him, man.
So the next thing we see is at her house.
No, that's not the next thing we see.
No,
No.
back at her house
I
where
guess
she
we don't
goes she goes back to her mom's house.
Doesn't he like yell "Hail Satan" and smash his face into the table first?
Yeah, pretty sure. he
Was
does
that then?
Yeah, that's when
Yeah.
when she's interrogating him.
Did you go to the bathroom?
Oh no, you were absolutely right. I guess at the end of that monologue and speech and interview or whatever you want to call it,
Right.
interrogation.
So we got to talk about that. So the interrogation ends.
With him busting his own face into the table, and so
He ends the monologue with,
Hail Satan.
and then just smashes his face super graphically into the table. And like the last shot of him before he dies is like he has no nose. His face is just mangled.
busted, and he had sprayed blood all over the opposite wall too. That's how hard he was like hitting it.
So right
he
there,
bowed all the way down.
so right there in this movie, you're like, isn't he supposed to be like the character we're chasing the entire time? Like, is this movie about to be over?
Well, when she's interrogating him, she already knows that there's somebody else. She knows because they don't have any evidence that he has ever been in any of these houses.
Yep.
So they know that she knows that there's somebody else working with
There
him.
has
So
to be an
she's like,
accomplice.
interrogating him about it, and he's being very cagey about it the whole time, and then just kills himself.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But he does. Does he say something about asking her mom too?
Yeah. He says, "Yeah, maybe you probably need to talk to your mom."
Yeah.
and then so Blair Underwood is like, "All right, case closed," and she's like, "No, there's an accomplice." And he's like, "Fuck off, man! Like, case closed. We did it. You know, like it's over. Fuck it." So she goes back home the second time to talk to her mom, and what sets her? What? Oh, yeah. She goes with another officer. She just witnessed the fucking murderer kill himself, so she's pretty like out of it. So another officer drives her home, and she goes inside to bring her mother in for questioning.
Yeah.
And shit goes down, which I hate to go into detail about it because it's so good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I loved the way it was shot and how it just revealed itself.
Yeah.
Like everything from her shooting the doll, the
I mean,
black
before
smoke
that.
that
Before that, when she like shoots
I
the
know,
other
I know.
agent,
I know she shoots the other agent. I knew that what
Right,
you were alluding
yeah,
to.
It's just
like in the car, and she's like, "Holy shit!" and
Holy
then
shit, yeah.
then there's a doll in the middle of this like corral or whatever you would have called like their little
Right.
house thing, which looks awesome. There's a lot of space out there, but like she shoots the doll, and that
Yeah,
black
well,
smoke that goes away from
she
Harker.
she encounters her mother and a lifelike doll of her when she was 9.
yeah, that's very similar to the doll that they found on the farm.
Right, and it's dressed just like her from when she was 9 when she first meets Longlegs.
So at this point, you think it's like some kind of like when she shoots the doll and you see the smoke come out of Harker, you're like, okay, she's freed. Like she
Right.
it was this exorcist type shit.
Right, and the mother is even like, Longlegs, he's dead, right? Cool, I'm gonna blast this fucking doll.
And then I expected her to like come out the other side like an exorcism, and now she's not going to be socially awkward or anything like that. She'll just be like a
Right.
normal person.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's
that did not
probably
happen.
well, she's never gonna be normal after this shit.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, like I think part of the part of the reason that she's not normal is because it's revealed that they have been controlling her mind with this doll and like what she
Right.
can see and what she can do, which still is like I feel like is evidence to like they were driving this whole thing the whole time.
Right, I do.
You know,
too.
like when he talks about how they made her or how she became an agent, like it feels like they forced that hand. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
I'm wrong about this, but
like they wanted the ending to
yeah,
happen
that's
way.
what it kind of
Yeah.
felt like.
And that's
Everything
when
was
we
driving
like.
towards that.
So the mom shoots the doll. I mean, let's fast forward through this some because there's a lot that's happening in this movie. But
The mom
like
blasts
you
the
said,
doll.
like you said, Longlegs is dead. All right, let me shoot this doll, and then we start realizing the mom was in cahoots somehow.
Right.
And,
So Lee passes out and kind of has like a flashback of her mother talking to her, basically explaining herself, saying, okay, she chose, when Longlegs came to them, she chose, I guess, Clover. And instead of destroying themselves, she aided and abetted Longlegs in reward of protecting her daughter.
Yeah.
Which is when we learned who the man downstairs was and is,
Right,
and who's
yeah.
been referred to.
Right, the man downstairs. So, yeah, and then you also learned that Longlegs had just been living in their basement.
Yeah.
Like
She
in the
just,
corner,
like,
on the
just
ground.
couldn't see the door or
Right,
something.
yeah,
Like, or
yeah.
yeah.
It's like, oh man, that door's always locked.
So the next thing we know, Lee wakes up in the basement where Longlegs has been
Right.
sleeping, which is weird, and the phone's ringing. I'd be like, "Who the fuck? Somebody answer the fucking phone." This phone rang for a while in this scene. Like it took her forever to get up to the
It was a
main
long
level,
ring scene,
and
yeah.
so she answers the phone, and then she hears like something. What was it like? You're
Late for the
missing,
party.
Right for the party. You're missing,
The birthday
or
party
something.
from the beginning.
And
yeah.
then we learn it was Ruby's birthday, and then she's like, "Oh shit!" So this is what's happening. These dolls, and then we get that flashback, which was really cool. I guess the mom told the story of like
Yeah.
how she's aiding and abetting,
Right.
And she's like, "Nope, this creepy old fucker walking up to your door wouldn't have like gotten this doll in there."
That's
Yeah.
right.
But a nun would, and I dressed up like a nun, like I was from the church or whatever, and I was delivering this free doll that everybody gets, like on your birthday. So they bring the doll in, and then we learn, like later, because Harker shows up to her Agent Carter's house, and it's her daughter's birthday, who's on the 14th, and then she encounters her mom at Carter's house, at her
Dressed like an
boss's
old
house.
ass nun, which I
Dressed like a nun, because we learned that like once that doll goes in the house, like it's a very short countdown before murder.
Immediately, the doll has them under like possessed.
Right.
Like they uncover its eyes or take the cloth off or whatever, and then it's like that's it. They're like under the spell, like
it's
immediately.
So she shows up to Carter's house. Her mom's there. Carter's already pissed on the couch of this birthday party.
Yeah,
And like you
He's
could
already
tell,
possessed.
yeah, like this is starting to
it's
get-
going down.
Yeah, it's starting to
Take over.
take over.
Evil's taking
and you
over.
know what's about to happen.
Yep.
Right. So this is
They're about to sing happy birthday.
Harker's turn to take care of all of this.
Right.
You hear the wife getting murdered in the kitchen.
So this like bothered me so much. Like she
Same.
knows what is about to happen. She
Right.
knows. She knows what's about to happen, and she does nothing to stop it. She hears the woman, the wife, getting stabbed in the kitchen, and waits for him to come out and like.
Then shoots him.
Right.
Like
yeah.
it's just like I know she's fucked up and scarred, and maybe like having her brain controlled by that metal ball or whatever that was even about. Like
right.
her mom's
Why
sitting
wouldn't
right
she
there.
have just shot the doll? I don't understand why she wouldn't have just shot the doll to begin with.
Right,
Walked
yeah,
in,
like,
blasted
just-
the doll, said everybody's sorry about that.
yeah.
Like
Sorry, I
Just
blasted your
yeah.
birthday present, but you'll ask me or you'll thank me later.
exactly. Mom, outside now. We got to talk.
So it's a big like fireworks ending. I mean, Carter comes back in the room after murdering his wife. She shoots him in the head. She shoots her mom in the head, who stands up and tries to defend whatever.
Yep.
And then does she shoot the doll in the head?
No, she tries to, but
Empty
she's
clip.
out of out of
she's out of bullets.
so the
Empty
doll
clip.
survives.
So
Which is also
But
odd.
the daughter is the weirdest part of this whole last scene because she doesn't do anything.
'Cause she's possessed by the doll.
Yeah, she's enamored by the doll. She's over there like caressing its face
Yeah.
and shit.
Oh, that's right.
So in all honesty, Lee's done nothing.
No, she
Like-
didn't save anybody. I mean, she saved the daughter, I guess.
But the daughter's not really saved either.
And the doll is still
I
sitting
mean, they
there.
can still kill that, smash that doll when somebody else gets there. Or whatever.
Possibly, yeah.
I mean, yeah, she could have just
sent
she
somebody
could have got a
back.
hammer and just smashed it. It's
Yeah.
a porcelain doll. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
And we learned also the psych ward girl had killed herself too. So like everybody's pretty much gone.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then we see the victory lap on the last scene of the movie where they clap right back to Nic Cage's interrogation scene, and we just hear a very happy "Hail Satan!"
Hail Satan.
Yeah, and that's the end.
And a kiss noise.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's the end.
And then roll credits.
Overall, I I definitely enjoyed this, but there are a couple of segments we do before we review this movie. One is called Movie Marriage. It's where we take two movies and we make them get together, and whatever they collaborate is this movie. Mm-hmm. So taking two movies, or the idea of two movies that created Longlegs. I'll go first because we all probably have the same one.
I think we will this time.
Yeah.
Because it was heavily influenced, and it's been said in interviews and reviews and everything, but this has a very Silence of the Lambs feel to it. Mm-hmm. You've got a female FBI agent chasing after a serial killer. It's very slow at times, but I think that plays into it. It's intense at times. Right. There's some scenes that just overpower other scenes, like what is it, Anthony Hopkins, where he eats all the people, or he's in that cage, and like all of a sudden they come in and everybody's like dead, and their chests are coming out. This fucking freaks with me. I said Mask with Cher, like
not
Juicebox alluded to earlier, with a hint of Hereditary in there. No. I'm not saying that I like Hereditary. I'm saying there's a hint of Hereditary in there.
You don't like it, you love it.
Can I go back real quick and say the shots of the devil in this movie are fucking awesome. They are very creepy to me. The black silhouette with the red eyes and shit.
Yeah.
I think
that is so subtle. Like I read that that's in several scenes. I think I only noticed it in maybe two, like when we were watching it.
Do you want to go or you want me to go?
I can go because I also obviously had Silence of the Lambs. So I had three. Mine was a menage a trois, I guess. I had Barbarian because I feel like that old-ass creepy killer dude in that kind of gave me similar vibes to this.
Yeah,
and then
cool.
True Detective Season 1 because the whole like devil worshipping cult type thing.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. I had Silence of the Lambs also, and Barbie because of all the dolls.
No.
Okay, no. I put 7 because they're both police procedurals and they're hunting somebody. And,
yeah, dude, that's a good one. I didn't even think about 7, but that's a really good call.
And I was thinking 7, but also I don't know if I wrote it first or if I read it after the fact. It was heavily influenced too. Like it's got in both the movies, all the movies we listed have influence.
Another segment we like to do on Bucky's Basement, especially when we're doing these Casting Cage episodes, is tagline. That's where we take the original tagline from the movie and we read it to you in a creepy movie voice, and then we create our own and read those to you to see which one's better.
It's not always a creepy movie voice.
Well, it's either the serious voice or the goofy voice.
Yeah. So I don't know about you guys. I did not find a tagline.
I couldn't find one either, like for the real movie.
Oh, then there shouldn't be one. Do you have one?
I mean, I wrote one.
Okay. I want to hear it because all I've got is Longlegs.
Hail Satan.
I mean, that's good enough. Or cuckoo.
Caca.
Longlegs. Don't let Daddy cut the cake.
Okay.
Because they said that a kitchen knife had been used in multiple murders.
It's hard to come up with one for this.
That was a deep cut. Mine is just long legs, cheese and crackers.
Just happy as peaches.
There are a lot of quirky things that go on in this movie.
Yeah, so let's get around to rating this thing, man, because we've been talking about it for a million years.
Let's cut to it.
Oh boy,
I'll go for it. I mean, I'm gonna give it my best rating.
Yeah, he's awful damn good. I think I got the best one.
I thought about the movie a lot. I want to see it again, and I would encourage people to see it. It's not necessarily. I mean, it's got some originality. I just really enjoyed it. I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Nic Cage.
All right. So I agree with a lot of what you said, but
All right, I'm a little tired, a little wired, and I think I deserve a little appreciation.
I'm going middle on the road of this because there are a lot of things I liked about this movie, but a lot of things about this movie felt like just copied from other movies. Like, we said Silence of all of us had Silence of the Lambs. That was like so obvious, like that this movie was referenced by that. And honestly, like, the Nic Cage character is creepy in this movie, but it's also like, a little bit cheesy to me. Like it's kind of fucking just a little bit too much. You know what I'm saying? Like he does good job being creepy. Like in that clip we played before, like where he starts to get dark, like talking about like, you know,
Right.
bowing down and all that shit.
Right.
And then he finishes it off with being just fucking Nic Cage.
Like a mop.
Yeah. Like a mop. Like a rag. Like it's just like it's
Right.
almost there for me, but it's just not like I feel like he could have been a little I don't know. There could have been a little bit more in this movie and he could have been a little less zombie Miss Doubtfire.
Gotcha. Would you watch it again? Or would you encourage people to see it?
I would encourage people to see it. I mean, obviously, like, I think this is a theater movie, like, 100%. Because,
Right.
like, I watched this movie in the theater, and then I came home the next day and found, like, a terrible, like, bootleg copy, which is what I got those audio samples from. So I was, like, kind of, like, looking back through that a little bit to, like, you know, re-remember and reference. So, I don't know. I think that people should see it one time, but I don't think this is like
It'll make the classics.
it's not for me.
Gotcha.
It's been a long time since I've seen a horror movie that like really sticks with me. Like, and I tell you guys this all the time. Like, I'm really into a horror movie 3/4 of the time, and then when it goes off the rails at the end and it starts shooting into supernatural shit or fucking ghosts coming back from the past or like something that just didn't make sense through the first 3/4, I can't stand it after that. And I might have been in the right headspace when I went to the theater. I sat down and I was mad about the day and I just wanted to disappear into something. And this is not only this movie, which was cool. It opened with that box and that 4:3 aspect or the ratio or whatever you want to call it, the devil stuff, the acting. I think Micah, whatever you want to call her, Monroe, did an incredible job, and she had me captivated. And I've talked to some friends who were like, "No, she was, terrible. She was boring. She was like this." I think she played that role perfectly, because all of this brought emotion out of me. So much so that it was midnight when I walked out of Opry Mills, and there were 17 maybe cars in that entire parking lot. And I walked out, and I was like the weather was humid. I was fucking freaked out. Like I was walking down and looking around, like, and this is my favorite part about what horror does to me.
Right.
That night I went home and I could hear something in the front room or like this creak or that creak because nobody was awake. In that parking lot, I remember looking around, being like, what's that dude standing next to that truck? Like, what's up with him? And then he turns around and he's got like a No Fear T-shirt on, and like I'm no longer scared.
I thought you were gonna say he turned around and had a box literally like a hey, do you want a gift from the church?
But that's what I want to happen to me, and like it brought it raised the hairs on my arm,
Right.
and dude,
Yeah, he's awful damn good. I think I got the best one.
I want to see it again right now. Like I'm so jacked. I want to go see it in the theater right now when we get done with this podcast. I know neither of y'all can do it, and
I
it's
want to
probably,
see it again.
I do. I want to see it again in the theater, and I'm going to. And like you said, I don't know if it's going to have the same effect at home. Nic Cage, yes, was cheesy, but that's some shit. Like the cheesy part of Nic Cage is what I remember from 1989 to 1991 Nic Cage. The new creepy Nic Cage, the prosthetics, the whatever they did to his face, kind of hard to stomach. The Mask, I couldn't stop thinking about, and like that movie is kind of hard to stomach.
Yeah, I know. Like, and this is like,
and Blair Underwood killed it.
I think Blair Underwood
You're
killed
right.
it too.
He did a good
I think everybody did a great job like acting in this movie. I was convinced with all the characters. Like I thought everybody did a good job. I thought Nic Cage did his Nic Cage job. I just like I kept thinking about it like, and this is unfair because you could do this with other movies and say the same thing. But I was feeling like thinking about that character like in a different horror movie maybe or something. Like he's just kind of cheesy, man. It's just like it's freaky in this movie, but I think it I don't know.
He just acts like a weird dude. Hey, Dad, that creepy dude's here again because like he doesn't kill anybody, and he doesn't. The only thing that's kind of, I mean, like violent is him tying up that mom in that one scene.
That's true. That is like the only thing you see him do.
And it looks a little rough, but like, and his monologue, but he's really not even in the movie that much.
No,
He's very much a background like phantom character.
And
Yeah.
he kills himself halfway through the movie.
Yeah, kind of.
So-
Yeah,
yeah,
Into
like
chapter
yeah,
2.
like. So anyway, while we were talking about it real quick, Nic Cage was fit. Like the budget for this movie was $10 million, is what I read, and Nic Cage salary was half of that.
Wow.
No kidding. But
I mean, he makes the movie. Like
he draws.
Like
$5 million to make that movie?
yeah,
Like, I think they nailed it. Like, costume design, setting, like,
no, it's like he was paid $5 million, but
well, I know.
yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
There's
yeah.
another only $5 million to make the movie with the
Yeah.
rest of the actors and everything else. And like
Yeah.
you said, some of the set was like, all right, let's say this is 1995 by hanging a picture of Bill Clinton
Bill
behind
Clinton.
the desk.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a $5 million budget, that's pretty good. Like
Yeah.
making the rest of it,
And they've got to have killed that.
there
No,
wasn't a lot of
I think it
effects.
was like 22 million or something like that
So far.
opening weekend or
Yeah.
or so far or something like
22
that.
million.
So
Pretty
yeah,
good.
they're definitely
By this word of
exceeding.
mouth, it's going to keep picking up, I think. It's going to become one of those cult things. It might not stay in the theater that
See,
long,
the-
but I
I-
bet streaming will be big.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm
Yeah.
interested to see like how the staying power of it.
what happens to it. They've marketed it really well.
They have it's one of the better movies in a while for a Nic Cage
For a
film.
horror film, yeah.
Speaking of that, we love doing this. We review Nic Cage movies.
We do.
We do other stuff too sometimes.
We do other stuff too. All kinds of things, actually.
Yeah.
We have fun with it, but the next Nic Cage movie to come out, we're going to revisit 1995, and we're going to look into Kiss of Death. And
Oh yeah.
that is another Nic Cage universe, Nic Cageverse movies, where you get a lot of actors that you've heard of, you've seen, but some of them are new on the scene, like
Blair
Michael
Underwood in that?
Rappaport. No, I don't think
I
he's in
wish.
that. Ving Rhames just came out of Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
Somebody else just came out
Helen
of Pulp
Hunt
Fiction.
just came out of Twister.
Helen Hunt just came out of
I think that was
Twister.
pre-Twister, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
was
it was
it?
definitely
She's about to go
pre-Twister.
into a
No,
Twister.
I don't know.
No, it was
don't know
pre-Twister, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it feels like it. I guess it was a smaller role.
You get a lot of. You get David Carradine. What's his
David
name?
Caruso?
Caruso.
Yeah, who cares?
Before CSI Miami.
Doesn't make him better.
Nope.
So we're excited to do that, and everything we do in Bucky's Basement on a weekly basis. Again, wherever you're listening to us, like, rate, subscribe, or don't, or follow us on Instagram at Bucky's Basement, or Facebook or whatever social media you're on. Bucky'sBasement.com is always a great website to visit. Again, each and every week we're on YouTube. You can check out the new digs here. They will just evolve over time.
I think people should go online and tell us who they think is going to be murdered first in this room.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's
Who's the
going to
most
be a
likely murder suspect?
I think it's going to be me.
Or murder
I
victim.
got my back to the door.
But see, they kick the door in and your chair kind of blocks it. Then you're like,
They come
Slam
in with
it.
the shotgun, and
Yeah.
it's
And I'm-
straight to juice box.
I'm blasted first.
well, and then my premonition will come true.
Man, if you look at this, every single door, the angles, the opening angle points
so
at you,
much.
Awesome.
So much.
except that one. Anyway, we are back here each and every week. Thank you so much for listening, and
Tell your mama that.